Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Anuta, the Crochet World, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please subscribe to my channel, like, share and comment my videos. And today we are going to do this lovely and beautiful rug. Now this rug is about 16 inches in the size, so it's 41 centimeters if you convert it into the centimeters, and I've used a puff stitch here. Now you can use this rug anywhere in your shower or anywhere in your house. It is a perfect project if you want to make any rug or any mat in or around your house. So let's begin. Now for this particular rug or a mat, I've used my super chunky yarn and I've used two colors. So the first color is antique white and the other color is pastel. And both the yarns are super chunky yarn. This is a blanket yarn, so you can use your blanket yarn as well if you don't have this yarn. This is 100% polyester as well. So let me check. Yep, it is 100% polyester. So use a 100% polyester yarn. Also, as this is a super chunky yarn, it requires 8 mm of the hook. But instead of using this 8 mm of the hook, I've used my 6 mm of the hook. I haven't used 8 mm of the hook here. I want my work to be a little bit tight. So I've used my 6 mm of the hook, and that's it. So now let's begin. Now to begin, I'm using my petal yarn for as my first yarn. So I'm gonna have my magic circle here. So just put your yarn around your fingers like this. Have your yarn like this and put it around your finger, and the second strand of yarn should go like this, and have your 6 mm of the hook and just grab your yarn like this, and here chain up 3. So it's 1, 2 and 3. Now this first chain I never count as a chain. I always count that as my tying up knot or something. I've chained up 2 here, 1 and 2, not chain 3. The first chain is my knot, just my knot, and I'm not counting it as my first chain. Now here, yarn over and insert your hook into this magic circle. Grab your yarn and you're going to have 3 loops. Now yarn over for one more time. Insert your hook into your magic circle. Grab the yarn and yarn over for the 3rd time and insert your hook into your magic circle and grab the yarn. Now we have done it for the 3 times because we have chained up here. For very first puff, as we are doing our puff stitch here, for very first puff we have chained up 2 here, and that's why I will yarn over and will insert my hook into this magic circle for 3 times, and I'm gonna have my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7 loops here. 7 loops. Now yarn over and grab your yarn through all 7 loops like this and chain 1, and this is your first puff. Now for the second puff, yarn over and insert your hook into your magic circle. Grab the yarn, yarn over and insert your hook into your magic circle. Grab the yarn. You have done it 2 times here. Yarn over, insert your hook into your magic circle for the 3rd time and grab your yarn. And for the last time, 4th time, yarn over and insert your hook into your magic circle and grab your yarn, and you're gonna have your 9 loops here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. 9 loops here. Now yarn over and grab your yarn through all 9 loops like this and chain 1. So here, because we have chained up 2 here, we have yarn over for 3 times, and for the second puff we have yarn over 4 times, and I'm going to repeat my pattern for this second puff for another 4 times, and I'm going to have my 6 puffs here. So yarn over for one more time, insert your hook into your magic circle. Grab your yarn over, and insert your hook into your magic circle and grab your yarn. That's for 2 times. Yarn over for the 3rd time and insert your hook into your magic circle and grab your yarn. Yarn over for the 4th and the last time and insert your hook into your magic circle and grab your yarn, and you're going to have your 9 loops here. Yarn over and pull your yarn through all 9 loops like this, and chain 1, and that's a 3rd loop, sorry, 3rd puff, and we are going to repeat it for another 3 times, and we're going to have our 6 puffs here for this on this magic circle for our round number 1, and I'm going to meet you after my another 3 puffs. Okay, so for my this first round I have done my 6 puffs here, 1 2 3 4 5, and my 6th puff, my last puff, and I've chained up 1 at the end. Now you have to insert your hook into your first chain 1, which is here. Grab your yarn and make a slip stitch, and you can pull this yarn and make it tight like this. A little bit more and it will be like this. Now for round number 2 we are gonna change our color, so have your another color. So here, this is my 2nd color. I'm gonna grab my 2nd color like this, and chain up 2 here, so it's 1 and 2. Now for this first puff you can see this space here. We have done our 6 puffs here for round number 1, and for round number 2 you can see a space here after your first puff, as this is my first puff stitch, and you can see a space between my first and my 2nd stitch, as we have chained up here. So we have chained up here and we are gonna get a space here, if you can see. Now yarn over and insert your hook into that same space. Grab your yarn over, insert your hook into that space, grab your yarn over and insert your hook into that space and grab your yarn, and you're going to do it for the 3 times, as you have chained up 2 here, and this is your first puff. You're going to do it for the 3 times. Grab your yarn and pull it through all loops, and that's going to be your first puff for round number 2. Chain 1 here. Now into that same space where you have done your first puff, we are going to do another puff. So yarn over and insert your hook and grab your yarn, and you're going to do this for another 3 times. In total we are going to do it for the 4 times. So it's first time what we have yarn over and insert our hook into that space and get the yarn. Now for the 2nd time, yarn over, insert your hook into that same space, grab your yarn. This is for the 2nd time. For the 3rd time, yarn over and grab your yarn, and for the 4th time, yarn over and grab your yarn, and you're going to have your 9 loops here. Yarn over and pull your yarn through all 9 loops. That's your 2 puffs. Now for the 3rd puff, you're going to have your space between your 2nd and your 3rd puffs from the previous round. So yarn over and make 2 puff stitches into this space. So 1 2 3 and 4. Now yarn over and pull your yarn through all 4 loops, sorry, all 9 loops. Chain 1 and into that same space yarn over and do your 4th puff. So it's 1 2 3 and 4, and grab your yarn, chain 1, and we are going to repeat this for round number 2. So between this each puffs from the previous round, you're going to find your space, as we have chained 1 here. So you're going to find your space between these 2 puff stitches, and we are going to do 2 puff stitches into those chain 1 space, and by the end of this round we are going to have our 12 puff stitches, 12 puffs. So I'm going to meet you at the end of this round, round number 2. Now for this round number 2, I have done my 10 puff stitches here. Now for this last 2 puff stitches, remember that this is your chain 2. Your space between these 2 puffs is this one. So remember to insert your hook into this one. So yarn over, and I'm going to do my 11th puff stitch. So it's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Chain 1, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and chain 1, and that is my 12th stitch, my puff stitch. Now I'm going to insert my hook into my first stitch here, grab the yarn and make a slip stitch here, and this is your second round. By the end of your second round, you're going to have your 12 puff stitches. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 puffs. Now we're going to again change our color for our round number 3. So for the round number 3, grab your first color. For me, it is a pastel color, and I'm going to grab the yarn because it's just there. I haven't cut my yarn, so it's already attached. So I'm just going to grab my yarn like this, and we'll make a chain 1 here, and I'm going to tie up my work like this, so it will look like this. Now here, chain up 2, 1 and 2, and we're going to repeat our stitch here. So as we have chained up 2 here, yarn over and insert your hook into your after your first puff stitch, you're going to have your space here, this chain 1 space. So again, insert your hook into that space like this, grab your yarn, and we're going to do it for the 3 times. So it's 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to yarn over, and we're going to pull our yarn through our all 7 loops. And because this is our first stitch, we are having our 7 loops here, and chain 1 for 1 more time. Now into that same stitch, same space actually, yarn over and do your another puff stitch. So it's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and yarn over and pull your yarn through all 9 loops and chain 1. Now into this space, into this second space, we are gonna do our only 1 puff here, 1 puff stitch here. So yarn over, insert your hook, grab your yarn over, insert your hook, grab your yarn, do it for the 4 times, and we're gonna have our 9 loops here. Yarn over and pull your yarn through all 9 loops, make your first another 1 puff stitch. So 2 puff stitches and then 1, then 2 puff stitches and then 1, and then 2 puff stitches and then 1, and keep on repeating it. So every chain 1 space we are going to do our puff stitches. So first chain 1 space we are going to do our 2 puff stitches, second chain 1 space we are going to do our only 1 puff stitch, and then into the third third chain 1 space we are going to do our 2 puff stitches, and then next chain 1 space we are going to do our 1 puff stitch only. So keep on doing 2 stitches then 1, 2 stitches then 1 for this round, round number 3, and I'm going to meet you at the end of this round. And at the end of this round we are going to have our 18 puff stitches. So I'm going to meet you at the end. Okay, so at the end of my round number 3, I have my 18 puff stitches, and I'm going to insert my hook into my first stitch, and we'll grab the yarn and we'll make a slip stitch here, and that's going to look like this. Now we're going to change color for 1 more time, so just leave it here and grab your second color. For me it is a white color, antique white. Now attach your yarn like this. Now remember, I already have my yarn. I've already attached my yarn previously and I haven't cut this, so it's gonna be like this. And just tie up your yarn. So after attaching my yarn, it looks like this. Now chain up to 1 and 2 and insert your hook into your this first chain one. Remember, we are not doing anything in here. We are not doing anything here. We are gonna insert our hook into this chain one space and yarn over and insert your hook and do it for 3 times. So it's 1, 2 and 3. Grab your yarn and pull it through all 7 loops and chain 1. So that's our first puff stitch for round number 4, and we are gonna do another puff stitch in here. So yarn over and insert your hook into that same chain 1 space, grab your yarn and do it for 4 times. So this is first time, second, third and the fourth, and we're gonna have our 9 loops here. Yarn over and pull your yarn through all 9 loops and chain 1. So that's 2 puff stitches into that same chain 1 space. Now for the next 2 chain 1 space, this one and this one, we are going to do our 1 puff stitches here. So 1 puff stitch here and 1 puff stitch here. After that, we are going to do our 2 puff stitches into this chain 1. So let's do it. So next chain 1 space, we're going to do only 1 puff stitch. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. Yarn over, pull your yarn through all 9 loops, chain 1 into this next chain 1 space. 1, 2, 3 and 4, and grab your yarn and pull your yarn through all 9 loops, chain 1. Now into this next chain 1 space, we are going to do our 2 puff stitches into that 1 chain 1 space. So yarn over, 1, 2, 3 and 4, chain 1, 1, 2, 3 and 4 and chain 1. That's it. And we are gonna repeat our this pattern. So 2 puff stitches into our first chain 1 space, then 1 puff stitch into each chain 1 space for the next 2 space chain 1 space, and into that next chain 1 space do your another 2 puff stitches into that 1 chain 1 space. Next chain 1 space, you're going to do 1 puff stitch, another chain 1 space, you're going to do 1 puff stitch, and then into the next chain 1 space, you're going to do your 2 puff stitches. So keep on doing this, 2, then 1, 1, 2, then 1, 1, 2, then 1, 1, and by the end of this round, round number 4, we are going to have our 24 puff stitches, and I'm going to meet you after that. Okay, so at the end of my round number 4, my work looks like this. Now for round number 5 and 6, we are not going to change our color of the yarn. So we're going to keep on doing our round number 5 and round number 6 with the same color. And this my color number 2, which is my antique white. Now for round number 5, chain up 2 here, 1 and 2, and insert your hook into your first chain 1 space here, and we are going to do our 2 puff stitches into this chain 1 space. So yarn over, and because this is our first puff stitch for this round, we are going to do, as we have chained up 2 here, we are going to do yarn over for 3 times. So it's 1, 2 and 3, and yarn over and grab your yarn and make your puff stitch here. So this is our first puff stitch, chain 1 and do another puff stitch into the same chain 1 space. So it's 1, 2, 3 and 4, chain over, grab your yarn through all 9 loops, chain 1, and that's our 2 puff stitches into 1 chain 1 space. For the next 3 chain 1 spaces, 1, 2 and 3, we're going to do 1 puff stitches into this each stitch, and after that we are going to do 2 puff stitches into this chain 1 space. So keep on doing this. So 1, 2, 3 and 4, chain 1, 1, 2, 3 and 4, grab your yarn, chain 1 and 1, 2, 3 and 4, and grab your yarn, chain 1. So that's 3 chain 1 spaces from the previous row. We have done our 3 puff stitches here, and now we are gonna do 2 puff stitches into this chain 1 space from the previous round. So yarn over, it's 1, 2, 3 and 4, chain 1, it's 1, 2, 3 and 4, and chain 1. That's it, and we're going to repeat this. So do your 2 puff stitches into your first chain 1 space, and then into next 3 chain 1 spaces do 1 puff stitches on each chain 1 space, and do another time into that chain 1 space do your 2 puff stitches, and next 3 chain 1 space do your 1 puff stitches, and keep on repeating it. And by the end of this round, round number 5, you're going to have your 30 puff stitches, and I'm gonna meet you at the end. Okay, so at the end of my round number 5, I have my 30 puff stitches, and my work looks like this. Now again, we are not gonna change the color of our yarn, and for round number 6, chain up to 1 and 2 and insert your hook into your first chain 1 space, and we are gonna do our 2 puff stitches here. So for the first puff stitch, we are gonna yarn over for 3 times. So it's 1, 2 and 3, yarn over and grab your yarn, chain 1, again into the same chain 1 space, do another puff stitch. So it's 1, 2, 3 and 4, yarn over, grab your yarn through all 9 loops and chain 1. That's another puff stitch. Now for the next 4 chain 1 spaces, we are gonna do 1 puff stitch into each chain 1 space. So 1, 2, 3 and 4, this all 4 chain 1 space, let's do our 1 puff stitch. So it's 1, 2, 3 and 4, chain 1, 1, 2, 3 and 4, chain 1, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and chain 1, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and chain 1. So first chain 1, we have done our 2 puff stitches into 1 chain 1 space, and then into next 4 chain 1 spaces we have done our 1 puff stitch into each chain 1 space, and into this chain 1 space we are gonna do our 2 puff stitches into this chain 1 space. So yarn over, 1, 2, 3 and 4, chain 1, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and chain 1, and keep on repeating it. So at the end of your round number 6, you're gonna have your 36 puff stitches, and I'm gonna meet you at the end. Do 2 puff stitches into your first chain 1 space, and then next 4 chain 1 space, do 1 puff stitches. Here again 2 puff stitches into 1 chain 1 space, and then next 4 chain 1 space, do your 1 puff stitch into that each chain 1 space, and keep on repeating it. And I'm going to meet you after the end of this round. Okay, so at the end of my round number 6, I've got my 36 puff stitches, and my work looks like this. Now for round number 7, we are going to change the color of our yarn. So let's take the first color. We haven't cut our yarn at the back, so it's still attached. So I'm just going to grab my yarn like this, and I'm going to attach my yarn this way, and just pull my white yarn a little bit. So my work will look like this. Now again, chain up 2, 1 and 2 for this round number 7. For this first chain 1 space, make our 2 puff stitches here. So yarn over 1, 2 and 3, because this is our first stitch. I've yarn over 3 times, and yarn over and pull my yarn through all my 7 stitches, and chain 1, and into that same chain 1 space I'm going to do my another puff stitch. So it's 1, 2, 3 and 4, yarn over and chain 1 here, and that's it. Now for the next 5 chain 1 spaces, I'm gonna do my 1 puff stitch into that each chain 1 space. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Until my next 5 chain 1 spaces, I'm gonna do 1 puff stitch. So let's do 1 puff stitch into that 1 chain 1 space. So it's 1, 2, 3 and 4. Grab your yarn and make a puff stitch. Now chain 1 and into the next stitch 1 puff stitch. So it's 1, 2, 3 and 4. Chain 1 again. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Chain 1. Here it is. So first chain 1 space we have done our 2 puff stitches, and then next 5 chain 1 spaces we have done our 1 puff stitches into that each chain 1 space. Now next chain 1 space we are going to do our 2 puff stitches into this same chain 1 space. So it's 1, 2, 3 and 4. Chain 1, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and grab your yarn and chain 1, and that's it. And we are going to repeat this. So for next 5 chain 1 spaces we are going to do our 1 puff stitch into that each chain 1 space, and then after that we are going to do our 2 puff stitches into this chain 1 space, and keep on repeating it. So at the end of your round number 7, you're going to have your 42 puff stitches. So do your 2 puff stitches, and then next 5 puff stitches, 1 puff stitch into that each stitch, and I'm going to meet you at the end of this round. Okay, so at the end of my round number 7, I have my 42 puff stitches, and my work looks like this. Now for my round number 8, I'm gonna change my color. So I'm gonna take my second color like this, chain up 2, 1 and 2, and insert my hook into my first chain 1 space here. So yarn over and do your first puff stitch. So I'm going to do it for the 3 times. So it's 1, 2 and 3, yarn over and grab my yarn through all 7 loops and yarn over and make my chain 1 here. And I'm gonna do my another puff stitch for my this round number 8 into that same chain 1 space. So it's 1, 2, 3 and 4 and chain 1. So 2 puff stitches into our first chain 1 space, and now next 6 chain 1 spaces we are going to have our 1 puff stitch into that each chain 1 space. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Next 6 chain 1 spaces we're going to do our 1 puff stitch. So let's do it. So it's 1, 2, 3 and 4, chain 1. It's 1, 2, 3 and 4, chain 1, 1, 2, 3 and 4, chain 1, 1, 2, 3 and 4, chain 1, 1, 2, 3 and 4 and chain 1 for the last time. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and chain 1. So next 6 chain 1 spaces we have done our 1 puff stitch into that each chain 1 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Now next chain 1 space we are going to do our 2 puff stitches into our this 1 chain 1 space. So yarn over, 1, 2, 3 and 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and that's it. We're gonna repeat this for this round number 8. So do your first 2 puff stitches into your first chain 1 space, and then into next 6 chain 1 spaces do 1 puff stitch into each chain 1 space, and keep on repeating it. And by the end of this round number 8, you're gonna have your 48 puff stitches, and I'm gonna meet you at the end. Okay, so I finished my round number 8 here. Now for round number 9, we're going to change our color. So we're going to take our first color, which is our petal color, and we'll grab the yarn, and it will look like this. Now chain up 2, 1 and 2, and into this first chain 1 space we are going to do our 2 puff stitches. So it's 1, 2 and 3. I'm going to yarn over 3 times because I have chain 2 here. And that's going to be my first puff stitch, chain 1, and into that same chain 1 space I'm going to do my another puff stitch. So it's 1, 2, 3 and 4, yarn over, and that's it. My 2 puff stitches into my first chain 1 space. Now into this next 7 chain 1 spaces we are gonna do our 1 puff stitch into each chain 1 space. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Next 7 chain 1 spaces we are gonna do 1 puff stitch into our each chain 1 space. Then we are going to do our 2 puff stitches into this next chain 1 space, and then again next 7 chain 1 spaces we are going to do our 1 puff stitch into this each chain 1 space. So let's repeat this one, and by the end of this round number 9, we are going to have our 54 puff stitches. So I'm going to meet you at the end of this round. Okay, so I have finished my round number 9. Now for round number 10, again, we are going to change the color of our yarn. So grab your second color of your yarn and chain up 2. 1 and 2. And again, we're going to do our first puff stitch into our this first chain 1 space, and we're going to do it. We're going to yarn over for 3 times. So it's 1, 2, and 3. Yarn over and grab your yarn and chain 1. So that's your first puff stitch, and we are going to do our second puff stitch into that same chain 1 space. So it's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Grab your yarn, make your puff stitch and chain 1. So it's done. And for the next For the next 8 chain 1 spaces, we are going to do our 1 puff stitch into each chain 1 space. So this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Another next 8 chain 1 spaces, we're going to do 1 puff stitch into that each chain 1 space, and into this chain 1 space after that we are going to do our 2 puff stitches into that same chain 1 space, and then again next 8 chain 1 spaces we are going to do 1 puff stitch into each stitch, and we are going to end up having our 60 puff stitches for this round, round number 10. For round number 9 we had our 54 puff stitches, and for round number 10, the last round, second last round actually, we are going to have our 60 puff stitches, and I'm going to meet you at the end of this round. Okay, so I finished my round number 10, and by the end of my round number 10 I have my 60 puff stitches. So in total we have 120 stitches for this round number 10, because that's our 60 puff stitches plus chain 1. So 60 plus 60 is 120 stitches on this whole project right now, on this round number 10. And now we are going to do our last round, which is round number 11. And for this round number 11, we are going to change the color of our yarn, and we are going to have our this first color. So just attach that yarn like this and chain 1 here. Now this chain 1 will be our first single crochet, and we are going to do single crochets on this round number 11. So this is our 1 single crochet. Now into this chain 1 space, do your second single crochet, and on top of this puff stitch you're going to do your third single crochet. Into this chain 1, your fourth single crochet, and on top of this puff stitch you're going to have your fifth single crochet, and keep on doing 10 single crochets. So it's my 6 single crochet, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So that's my 10 single crochets. Now into that same stitch where I have done my 10th single crochet, I will do 1 more single crochet. So plus 1, so it's 1 more single crochet like this. Now again count another 10 single crochets from here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. That's my 10 single crochets, and into that 10th single crochet where I have done my 10th single crochet, I will add 1 more single crochet, and that will be my 11th single crochet. And keep on doing this So keep on doing your 10 single crochets and plus one. So wherever you are doing your 10th single crochet, add one more single crochet into that same stitch. And by the end of this round, round number 11, which is our last round, we are end up having our 132 stitches all the way around. And I'm gonna meet you at the end, 132 single crochets. That's it. I have finished my work, and I'm going to cut my yarn and will insert my loose ends inside, and I will see you after that. And that's it. I have finished my work, and I hope you have liked my today's tutorial. If you have liked, please like, share and comment to my videos, and please subscribe to my channel, and I will see you into the next video. Till then, bye.